thank you, Familia Corda, for asking us to be part of this, and to all the sponsors, I want to thank them also. My name is Rudy Gonzales. I'm from Denver, Colorado. Also, as the son of Rodolfo Corky Gonzales, one of the 8 children, I grew up tempered and experienced in the Chicano movement in Denver, but traveled extensively with my father, as did many others throughout his life and his work. And we talk about organizing and intergenerational organizing and leadership. I don't have a PowerPoint. I didn't bring a PowerPoint. I did bring some people up from Denver, and I call it a 5D PowerPoint. I brought 2 young ladies here who are doing amazing work in the barrios in Denver as young leadership, as young organizers. And I'd like to introduce them. One is Miss Jenny Santos there, and the other is Miss Natasha Love. They also are staff. They also work with me at Servicios de la Raza. Servicios de la Raza, I'm the executive director for Servicios de la Raza, Services for the People. It is a now 43-year-old nonprofit human service agency that specializes in culturally and linguistically specific services across a broad spectrum of human services. Servicios, I was hired by the board of directors about 6.5 years ago. I'll be going into my 7th year in November. And when I got there, Servicios, as most nonprofits, a lot of nonprofits, you go through thin and you go through flush times. There are ebbs and flows to nonprofit work. And it was definitely in one of its thinnest times, and it was in danger of closing its doors after 37 years serving the community. And it was a birth child in 1972, founded by Chicano activists, a bunch of different people, activists, some agency workers, government, municipal workers, came together to start this little agency in Northwest Denver. And they started to provide mental health services for people in Spanish. It grew. It was a very proactive and also a reactive agency in that it listened to its community. It listened to what the needs were. It adjusted, it adapted, it met those needs on an ongoing basis. If it could procure funding, then it would start a program to fill those gaps, and there are many in our communities, in housing, in education, in jobs, in health care, health access, and on and so forth. And so again, going in, they hired me. The agency was down to about 7 full-time employees from a high of about 40 at one point. It was down to 3 program areas. It was severely contracted in monies, and it was deficit, huge deficits. And everyone told me, "You're crazy, don't do this, because this place is, spiraling down and it's gone." And I just, for me it was coming back, it was closing a circle in my life, because it was really, I had been through a lot of different experiences in my life, work experience, from corporate to nonprofit to education. And I thought, this is my opportunity to run a Chicano-founded organization and really reinstill and reinvigorate into this organization a strong advocacy, a strong organizing component, a strong activism into the agency, which it had been known for because my eldest sister worked there for 16 years. And it housed Escuela Tlatelolco, the school my father founded in 1970. For 12 of those 16 years, she ran the school. When she broke, She left in '94 to recreate the school in its entirety. The soul left the agency. It really did. Because she was that other, she's my eldest sister. I'm the fifth child. So I'm the oldest of the second four. She's the oldest of the first four. So it's interesting because we kind of cut from the same bolted cloth. And I worked with her helping to rebuild the escuela from '98 to 2004 to pre-K through 12 now program, which it is very successful now. Dual language model. But I worked 6 years and it was like this, right? Brother, sister, that's all I could handle, 6 years. And I was out and went on to do other things and do other things in working in education until I was hired to lead Servicios. And today we are a $2.6 million agency with 10 program areas, over 100 service areas. Across Denver Metro and across the state in some of our reach, in some of our services. But I think just as important, other than the service, because I preach to nonprofit leaders that you're only, especially if you're doing human services, because what we do is we work with people and families and our elders and our babies, and we work with people who are in crisis. Or we work with people who are vulnerable and at threat of falling into crisis. And we work to build them up again, to create and develop self-sufficiency, self-sustainability in a good way, in a healthy way, in a positive way. And that's the work that we do. And so growing this agency, you know, we are at 34 staff now. And yet we're a small agency. We are, I call us we're pie crust, right? We're spread like pie crust, but we do the work. And the work is leadership and organizing. So our 11th component, our 11th program is our really strong activism and advocacy and community organizing and leadership in areas of justice, in areas of equity, in areas of discrimination and racism, in disenfranchisement, in marginalization, in minimization, in systems deconstruction. So this is the work, and it is a lot of hard work. Leadership, there's two types of leadership. There's titular and there's conceptual. Now, titled leadership is what the media or what an elected leader is. You know, I mean, we got a mayor who was elected by only 24, actually it was even less this re-election. About 18% of the voting population voted. And elected the mayor of Denver, which is the strongest, one of the most powerful mayoral positions in the country, Denver mayor. Only 18%. When he won 4 years ago and became the new mayor, only 24% of this electorate voted for him. Voted. And he won, you know, fairly close race. And so only 24%. So titled leadership for me is one thing. What we practice at Servicios is conceptual leadership. And the concepts are very easy. I mean, I have a lot of people that, or if the newspaper calls them a leader, or the media labels them a leader, or community, I'm like, I've never seen them sitting at the table with all the myriad, the hundreds, the scores of meetings that we're at, that we're working at the tables of policy that we're there and demanding that policy be socially just and humane and help people and communities rather than hurt people and communities. I don't see them there. So when they call leaders, and people come and say, I want to be a leader, it's very easy to be a leader. It's very easy to be a leader. Here are the concepts. Number one, community comes first. Whatever you do, community comes first. You do not put yourself in front of the community. And it's hard for our staff too, because I teach that at Servicios, is that we put community first, we put program second, and we put ourselves last. And it's tough. And I try to show a lot of appreciation in a lot of different ways for our staff, to let them know that they are appreciated, that I do celebrate their hard work. They're going above and beyond their 8 to 5 job that the grant is paying for. So that's one of the these are the concepts. It's community comes first. Number 2, it's show up. Show up. If you're going to commit to do something or be there, show up. I couldn't get a ride. My dad's car broke down, and I'm talking about younger people too. And this is how I teach them: show up. I don't care. You take the bus. This is your commitment. You find a way there. You hitchhike and get there, to that meeting, to that demonstration, to that march, to that speaking engagement, to that presentation. You find a way to get there because you committed. So show up. Number 3, do the work. Don't shy away from the work. Get involved and do the work. You're not going to get paid for it. Other than, it's through the intangibles of a commitment, of love, of compassion, of passion. Those are intangibles. Of integrity, of honor. Those are the intangibles that drive you to do the work. And then follow through. Follow through. Follow through to completion with that work. Follow through until you have a deliverable, until you produce something that's going to be effective, that's going to create, foster, develop change that you want to see. It's very easy. Those are the concepts that I teach, that I role model for our staff. And then staff, I've been very fortunate. We've hired a lot of young, smart, brilliant. I call them, they're bold, they're brilliant, they're beautiful. Right? And then we teach them. My father thrust me into so many positions, as many other young people that he fostered and he mentored and he coached and he taught into these positions of leadership. And if we screwed up, he would come, bring us and sit us down and debrief us, and then he'd say, go do it again till you get it right. And that's how I kind of, I think I learned more from him than I realized through osmosis. Really, I learned how to run an organization. I learned how to develop and create a familia concept within that organization, to create family instead of just workers, and to move forward together in a directed and integral direction of social justice, peace, equity. And so all of my staff, they role model what I do. So they all civically engage. They all sit and participate on councils and commissions and task force and boards and committees, and within their own program areas. Like Jenny right here is an expert in youth education, employment support, leadership development. Also an expert in health enrollment, navigation, and education and outreach, and in Obamacare and in Medicaid. And Natasha is expert in working in youth education, employment, leadership development. They both worked throughout the barrios of Denver. They both were significant in hosting the largest Latino youth statewide conference in Denver at Metro State University this past April, with over 1,000 youth attending for a one-day conference on education and career and heritage and culture and history and social justice. And these kids, they got them to come from all school districts all across the state. It was amazing. Freaked out the mayor, freaked out the president of the university, but they're trying to be a Hispanic Serving Institute, which I sit on that task force, and so they were very happy with that. And then we changed that around, and I leveraged that because as an ED, right, and running a nonprofit, the bane of my existence is raising dollars to sustain, to keep FTE staff working, to keep full-time employees, to keep them working, to pay them at a sustainable living wage, not to pay them at poverty wages, so they can raise the family, so they can sustain themselves while doing this difficult work. And so, you know, this is how we work, is we leverage. Also in Colorado, you know, I'm also the Denver co-chair, of the Denver chapter for the Colorado Latino Forum, which is a statewide coalition of peoples and organizations doing the work to improve the lives of Latinos politically, socially, economically, and welfare. And this work is also, you know, we're always in the fights. We're right now serving with the Denver Sheriff's Department, trying to reform that. Denver Police Department's trying to reform that. We're working with those, the manager of safety, the mayor. We're in there pushing back, pushing that envelope, ensuring that it's not going to be some whitewash, or it's not going to be some changing the leadership and business as usual. Denver Public Schools, the fact that we helped get a $500 million mill levy passed, and yet less than 1% of those dollars in construction have went to MWBEs, Minority Women Business Enterprises. We're fighting that, saying, how can you come do, you know, this is what builds wealth in our communities. This is why our communities stay in that vicious cycle of poverty, because that's how these systems work. They continue to perpetuate this poverty, the cycle of poverty within our communities, because they don't sink those dollars in our communities, into our minority businesses that hire pretty much minority people, that hire our people, and then pay them a wage that is going to build wealth for them, their families, and this for our communities. These are the fights that are going on all over Denver and Colorado. And these are some of the fights that my young staff are in. And so the organizing is important too. The organizing is important. We should have a full house here, but the organizing needs to continue. This is a first-time event. It needs to happen every year, so you start to build. You start to build. You start to build. That's how it happens. Just people doing that hard work in the beginning, and then it starts to mushroom. It starts to build. And so how we work in Denver, how we work as organizers, how our young people work as organizers, is Latinos or Chicanos or Mexicanos, our people are a high-touch, multiple-touch community. That means we're not going to get them involved the first time in talking to them. That we have to touch them once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times, to teach, to educate, because we are not just going to give our loyalty or our blood, sweat, and tears without knowing why. And then how do we message them? How do we? We've created at Servicios a multimedia coalition of over 17 media organizations, both hitting the English-speaking Chicano natives and the Spanish-speaking Mexicano and Latino immigrant native people. And so there's many nuances there, cultural nuances that we are aware of as people from our community. And so messaging is important. And the message is, it's always about family. It's always about familia. You need health insurance. Why? Because your children don't have it. That's what gets them to move. It's a familia. So I just want to end by saying that thank you for inviting me. Again, leadership is about showing up, doing the work. Community comes first. Thank you.